Hey viewers, my name's Cara. I have been living in the Sonoran Desert for almost 2 years now, and I'm getting ready to go back east. I've been spending some time back east every year, but I've been sort of based in the desert for a couple years now. Definitely the longest I've ever been here, and I really love it, and I also really love it everywhere that I've ever lived. So I don't have like a huge preference. So I wanted to talk about a little bit of what I will miss about being here in the desert and what I have missed about living where I used to live since being out here. The biggest theme that ties all of these things together that I've thought of, because I haven't like written them down and made a list, but in my mental list, the biggest thing that ties all these things together is, of course, the climate and the temperature. It is warm here all of the time, and sometimes it is really freaking hot. So, not a lot of time spent outside over the summer here because it's extremely hot. It's too hot to be outside. So, things that I will miss: being warm most of the time. I am a person who is very cold most of the time. So like right now it's quite hot outside. I'm very comfortable, but a lot of other people would be like, I can't be sitting out here right now, but I love it. So that said though, it does get too hot for me also, but generally like 10, 20 degrees Fahrenheit higher than it would be where I used to live, I'm still very comfortable in that here. And so I get to wear different things. Like I get to wear tank tops more often, I get to wear shorts more often. My alarm went off and it stopped my video. Anyway, I get to wear tank tops and shorts more often. I can wear dresses and skirts more often. Those are all things that I would usually not wear because I was always too cold. Even with leggings and sweaters and layers, like I was always wearing multiple layers, like literally 6 to 7 layers would be normal, but like at least like 3 layers on my legs some of the time, like long socks, leggings, then pants, and then however many layers of tops I would wear. I'm just so cold all of the time. So I like being able to wear things here that I have always owned, but usually was never able to wear in the same way. That said, there have been times that I've started to miss some of the outfits that I would normally wear, like some clothing items that I have that I really love, that it's too warm to wear here. So like I have a couple favorite sweaters and long sleeve shirts, and some of the time here it's just too hot. So there's been a lot of stuff that I actually like to wear that I can't wear here, but I've also been wearing things here that I would never wear back east. So a big part of it is like having sort of 2 different wardrobes, and between these 2 places I get to wear everything that I want to wear, just at different times of year in different places, which I feel like is how you would think it would normally work. Like in the summer I should be able to wear these things, but no, where I had been living very close to Lake Erie, it was always a little bit cooler. Even in the summer, there would be very few days that were warm enough for me to be outside without a jacket. And most of the rest of you would be fine. Like, I don't know the actual statistics. I feel like more people are not super like cold all the time, but I could be wrong. It could be like a good 50-50 people who are generally run warm and generally run cold. So I don't know, but I would never be super comfortable. So when I lived in the Northeast, and when I live in the Northeast again, it'll be like 10 months out of the year I'm too cold. Maybe I get 2 months of time where I'm comfortable, like a comfy temperature. And then out here, it's the opposite. I'm so comfortable in the temperatures here, like 9-10 months of the year. And it's just the couple of months or few months really in the height of summer where it's really hot here. That's the only time that it's too warm for me, so like we can't go outside. I really need, I know this about myself, living in a place that's usually very dark and cloudy and like cold. I know that I need a lot of natural light, and so I love how most of the time here it's nice enough to be outside and enjoy the little bit of sunlight. But when it's super hot, when it's at that height of the summer and the height of heat, you can't spend time out here. And I have to black out my windows so that my room isn't too warm. And my room is the closest to the south end of the house, so it gets too hot. Like if you touch my walls, they're hot. So it's like too warm to do anything during that time. And I have to black out the windows to try to cool it down, but that means there's no natural light. And so that equally affects me, just like it normally would in the winter in the Northeast when there's not enough natural light. It happens to me here in the summer because we avoid the sunlight because of how extremely hot it is. So that's just been an interesting thing to navigate. Other things I will miss about the desert, mostly the sun and the temperature, but I do love the plants. I've always had like aloe as a potted plant back east, so I will still like have my cacti that I grow, but I love all of the different plants and animals that are here. I see so many more geckos and lizards here than I ever would. I luckily have not run into any scorpions. My mom used to have run-ins with those when she first moved out here a long time ago, but I haven't seen any of those, thankfully. And I do miss the forests and different type of trees that I grew up with, but if you go a little bit further north from here, from where I am, there are pine forests here too, and there are places where it snows. So when I do feel like I start to miss those types of things and that ecosystem, that is not too far away. You just have to drive a little ways to get to it. So there have been times that I've been out here that I have spent time in more like conifer forest and things that remind me a lot more of where I grew up. But like one of the first things I did when I got out here is I went to the botanical gardens out here. There are actually multiple botanical gardens, you know, around various cities, but I went to one of them and I've been there I think twice now. But I wanted to do that very early because I wanted to get to know a lot of the other plants that I didn't already know. Like I knew the name prickly pear, I knew aloe vera, things like that. I knew eucalyptus, that's a eucalyptus tree, and there are palm trees, and agave and things like that, and I knew some basic types of cacti, but I wanted to go and learn their names because where I grew up, I knew a lot of plant names, not all of them, but definitely a lot more. So there were things that when I first got out here, I would look around, and just the fact that I didn't know the names of the plants around me made me feel really out of place. So I wanted to go and learn about those things right away. And so like I knew about Palo Verde trees, but I didn't know how many different kinds there are. I had never seen a mesquite tree up close. So yeah, there's a lot of different things out here. There's also some things that are familiar, and there are places here with grass, though not very many. I was joking about like that whole phrase, touch grass, that means like go outside and spend some time outside. I actually spend a lot of time outside here, but I haven't touched any grass because there just isn't any. And you don't want to touch most of the greenery around here. Don't touch these guys. I got prickers, they have needles, all different sizes. Within like the first week that I was out here, I got cactus needles stuck in my hand, and I considered that my desert initiation, because if you spend any time in the desert, you are going to get some cactus needles stuck in you somewhere. And so have tweezers handy, have tape handy. Putting down a piece of tape in order to pull it out helps sometimes with certain needles, for those of you who haven't been to the desert. But yeah, I considered that my desert initiation, like, okay, cool, we're here now. Because like I said, I had visited the desert before, but on my previous couple of visits to the desert, I had never had a run-in with cactus needles. It's happened many times since then. I'm very well used to it now. Oh, but that's another thing I could say I miss, just because it had to be so different. In the Northeast, I could go out in my yard barefoot and walk through the grass barefoot if I had to just run outside real quick to do something, right? So I would do that. But here, I can't do that. There's too much dust and sand spurs, and there could be cactus needles in the dust that was stirred up by the wind right outside the door. There could be cactus needles on the ground, and you will get them stuck in your foot. So very early I realized I have to always keep either like flip-flops or little slip-on shoes or slippers near the door so that if I'm walking around the house barefoot and I have to go outside real quick, I have to slip something on my feet. You cannot just like go outside. That said, we do it from time to time. I've seen my mom step outside barefoot and I'm like, what are you doing? Because I learned the hard way that that's not ideal. But sometimes I still do it, especially if it's just a couple steps right out the door and I'm pretty sure that it's okay because I swept it recently and it hasn't been that windy, whatever. But like the other day, I was in the kitchen and I got a cactus needle in my finger from somewhere. Don't know where it came from. So it's just a fact of life out here. So it's just things like that that are like, oh, this is different than how I have to do it elsewhere. So yeah, on that note, I didn't really think about this or notice it when I was out here for a long time, but the first time I visited back east in the past couple years since I've been out here, I noticed, like, I knew that it's not very humid here. That's part of the reason that my mom initially moved out here years ago, is because there's much lower humidity. And I hadn't really thought about it, but like the fact that my hair looks like this, well, it's a little bit flatter now even than it would be. But the fact that it looks like this and not like a giant poof is because of the humidity. Because when I go back east, very quickly my hair gets very frizzy and poofy. And I had sort of forgotten about that and started to take it for granted that like this is how my hair looks when I'm out here. And when I go back east, it's very different. So I will actually miss not having to deal with a bunch of humidity in my hair. But again, those are all kind of just little things that I wouldn't even think about except for the direct comparison between the extremes that are northeast versus southwest. And I actually did a video when I first got out here about like coming from the northeast to the southwest that I never ended up posting. So I don't know if any of that's like relevant anymore because I've been out here for 2 years now, and when I recorded that I thought I was only going to be here for a few months. So I don't even remember what I said in that video, but I remember that I made that video. And I think I was talking about what I expected to be different or the things that I had noticed so far. So some of that might be some of what I just said. I will enjoy being back east in that I can grow a lot more of my herbs and plants. My mom and I have tried to grow a lot of plants here, but they generally just do not make it. They are not well suited for the climate out here. So like, I'm not gonna show you, but I'm sitting in our front garden, which as you can see, the cacti, they're fine. But I am surrounded by a bunch of potted plants that quickly died. We try our best with the water and keeping them in the shade, but you know, you get a certain day where the temperatures are just that high and the sun is that intense, the plants cannot handle it. So growing them indoors is definitely better here, or, you know, there are ways that people do it. There are plenty of people here who have lovely plants. We just haven't been able to figure it out. So I will enjoy being able to grow different plants again, although I have cats, so I can't grow things inside because my cats will get into it inside. So that's a little bit of an argument for me of it being better having the potted plants outside, whereas here you can't really have them outside. So I tried having a potted plant indoors and I kept it in my bathroom because I could close the cats out of that space, but that plant still died. So I'm trying to think of what else that's not directly weather related, but it's hard because so many of the other things that I love are things that I can find pretty much anywhere I go. And that's why I kind of have this interesting feeling of like I don't really have a particular preference of where I am. Like everywhere that I have visited so far, I have found things that I love about it. I guess the main thing is I do prefer to be warmer a little more often, or like an equal amount of time would be ideal for me. I like experiencing all the seasons. Like I do miss autumn colors and having the leaves change color. It's autumn now and it's just very different here because some trees change color, but it's not the same, and most of the plants are not ones that like change color and drop leaves. So it's just a very different vibe of like what is autumn in this ecosystem versus what I'm used to thinking of as autumn. I've never really liked calling it fall, but it especially doesn't make sense here because it's not characterized by anything falling. There's no leaves falling. If anything, monsoon season feels like fall because that's when all of the pieces of the palm tree bark are falling off the palm trees and littering the ground after a monsoon. So yeah, monsoons are something that was new to me. I had never experienced before. I will not miss the way that the internet cuts out every time there's even a strong wind. Monsoon season is terrible for content creation for me, here anyway, for where I am. The internet is just not very reliable here, but there are absolutely other places out here that people have perfectly fine internet. So that's not to say like the desert has bad internet, obviously. There's a ton of people who do stuff all the time from here. But for me and where I live, that was a huge challenge that was also related to this specific ecosystem. Well, I'm not really thinking of anything else at the moment, and I'm not sure how much more time my camera has left. I need to put this on the charger, my phone. So I will say thank you very much for watching and or listening now, so that I don't have to worry about the ending of this video. Just trying to think of a couple of more things. The sunsets here are beautiful. I love how clear the sky is. Stargazing is quite easy out here compared to other places that I've lived that are very cloudy. The moon as well is just gorgeous from here because it's almost always clear. And it's not like some people told me there's never any clouds here, and so when I came out here before and it was windy all the time and very cloudy, people were telling me that's really unusual, that doesn't usually happen in that area, but in my experience, it definitely does. We had a lot of clouds and a lot of wind a lot of the time here, but like not right now. Totally clear now. But the sunsets are gorgeous, the mountains are beautiful, I love the Red Rocks. I got to spend some time further north, more in the like Red Rocks mountains areas. It's beautiful. Thank you very much for watching and or listening. I'll see you next time. Until then, don't forget to be awesome, blessed be, and goodbye. If you've ever been to the desert, any desert, not this one, but if you've ever been to a desert climate, let me know what you thought of it. Or if you are from one in the first place. I know there are some of you who watch who are from the desert. What do you love about it? What do you prefer about other places that maybe you've visited? Let me know.